Hi, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Academic Senate at Santa Barbara City College to order. The time is now 3:03 p.m. on Wednesday, September 8th. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about number 4, highlighting our community value. So trust that others are doing the best that they can and continue to grow. Acknowledge and value that everyone, including ourselves, can learn and change through our interactions with one another. Remain open and welcoming to growth in ourselves and each other. And yeah, I think that one will be a really, really good one to reflect on and highlight for today. Zoom meeting guidelines. We are, of course, a Brown Act committee that is meeting virtually during this time of social distancing. And so while we are on Zoom and conducting our meetings, should senators want to contribute to the meeting during the discussion, please raise your virtual hand, not your physical hand, especially when we're screen sharing. It's very hard to see physical hands. So raise your virtual hand. And if you are here for public comment, when I call for public comments, either during the public comment period or prior to any agenda items, and you want to make a public comment, then please raise your virtual hand then. Other than that, I request that everybody remain muted unless you have been acknowledged by me. All right, item 2.4 and 2.5 we typically take together. So I'd like to highlight that we do have one timed item today. It will be a short presentation by somebody from FAC, the president of FAC. So they will be here at 4. Other than that, we will proceed with the agenda as distributed and posted. Which brings me to item 3.1. I'd like to call for public comment now, acknowledging that members of the public have 3 minutes to address the Senate. Is there anyone here at this time that would like to provide public comment to the Senate? If so, please raise your virtual hand. And I believe I'm seeing none. Is that correct, Chris? Are you seeing any?
I'm not seeing any, Ray.
Okay, I don't think so. Let me double check. I'm seeing no virtual hands. Okay, now the other thing I would like to mention about public comments is we had a request to submit written public comments for the Academic Senate to consider. And so at this time, they have been attached to the public comment portion of our agenda. They were submitted by Trustee Croninger. So her document is there. It's titled Croninger Comments September 8th. If you open it up, it is a 14-page document, I believe. She supplied me with 2 separate documents. I combined them together as one PDF and submitted it there as her contributions to public comment for today's meeting. Okay, moving right along. The minutes for regular meetings on October 25th and special meetings August 3rd and 10th have been posted and distributed. Unless I hear otherwise, we will accept them as posted. Robbie.
I found a couple of what I think are errors in the minutes, and one of them I'm not sure is an error. Should I go over them or should I guess I should. On the 25th August, the item number 8.2, the BPAP things, they appear twice. It just looks like a big maybe copy and paste error. And item 8, there's discussion of the amendments, but I thought we had put off that discussion until today. So that was 25th August. Then on the 10th of August, there's a public comment by Dr. Benjamin, and she made 3 points, but the first point is incomplete and there's no point there. And then on the 3rd of August, a public comment was made by Senator Moore. And I wonder if that's I assume that was Bronwyn Moore, I think it was. And I wonder if that's our norm to refer to her as Senator Moore if she's not a currently sitting senator.
She may have been officially substituting, but I don't know. So let me ask you this, Robbie. So I honestly couldn't keep track. So are you commenting on each and every one of our minutes? Because maybe the most expedient thing to do is not approve our minutes today, suggest edits to the Google Doc, and then bring them back next time for accepting.
That'd be fine with me.
Okay. Was it all 3, Robbie, or was one of the 3 okay to move forward with?
I found something in all 3.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to pull all 3 then. And you have commenting rights to the documents, and if not, please request it, and then we can handle those corrections outside of the meeting. I think that would be helpful. Ellen, did you have something along those lines?
Yeah, I had a couple minor errors too, so I can just address them through the same process.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. All right, so we are not approving any of the minutes agendized today, and we are tabling them until our next meeting when senators have had time to offer some comments and corrections. All right, which brings me to item 5.1, my president's report. So I have both a written report and an oral report today. And I also have several attachments to my president's report today. Whatever. Zoom's giving me reminders. All right, so if I pull up my president's report for you all, directions for spring. Our interim EVP, Dr. Kathy Scott, who's with us today, sent out a email to department chairs. It is a separate attachment to my president's report, but I'm also highlighting probably the most important part here for the Senate's attention and to share out to our constituents, which is the district has decided on a goal of 60 to 65% for our on-campus classes for the spring and 35 to 40% for online. So if you would like to read the full correspondence, again, that email that went out to department chairs is attached to this agenda item. The Race Impact Assessment Project got a lot of really great interest. At the time that I made my report, there was 51 people that has responded. Since then, it's probably closer to 60. But because of this really great response, we're unfortunately or fortunately going to have to do a selection process for who can participate for this go around. Thursday, August 26th, the Board of Trustees meeting. I presented our resolution for vote of no confidence of 5 out of the 7 board members. The link at the appropriate timestamp is there for you to review. If you have not reviewed that item at the board, I absolutely urge you to please do that. There was a number of potential Brown Act violations alleged against them. I have since received the legal opinion from Mr. Craig Price, who represents the school, as well as the memo from Dr. Helen Benjamin. So those are attached to this item for those of you, for anyone to review, especially the public. And then I actually got a separate legal opinion from an attorney that specializes in the Brown Act, and the prevailing legal opinion is that we did not violate the Brown Act. So that legal opinion is also attached. That being said, Senate steering thought it was prudent to change the way our agendas are set up. And so you may have noticed that discussion items have been completely removed from our agendas. And from here forward, items placed on the Academic Senate agenda will either be placed as purely informational or as action items. Now, of course, our bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order and the Brown Act did allow us to move things to action. And it was very clear in our bylaws and openly available, but we just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and understand that the Senate can take action on items on their agenda. Acting Dean Hiring Committee, because hiring committee picks are Academic Senate's purview, specifically that of the president. I want to make sure that I'm adhering to that idea of transparency. So without outing the person, or people rather, there's problems with identifying those that are serving on hiring committees. I gave some general justification for who I picked for that hiring committee, and I look forward to doing that from here forward. There's a really important assembly bill that's at state legislation right now, or state at the state level of consideration, and it already made its way through the Appropriations Committee. And the Academic Senate, the State Academic Senate, the Student Senate of California Community Colleges, the Chancellor's Office, as well as FAC and other people are basically sounding the alarm about this legislation. And in a nutshell, it basically places all students enrolled at California community colleges in an associate's degree for transfer program. So there are some memos there to inform yourself about this assembly bill, and also a request from ASCCC to share this memo out if you feel compelled to your local legislator. Hybrid fall plenary, the fall plenary of the State Academic Senate will be hybrid. There we go, that's what I was trying to say. And we will discuss that at our next meeting. Senate steering agenda is that for today, so we'll come back to that at a later time. So I don't want to go into any more discussion about it. And then what was the other thing that I wanted to share with you? Yes, that program review has launched. And of course, our new process has completely been overhauled after our year pause. Please remember that all members of your programs and departments are invited and encouraged, emphatically so, to contribute. It used to be just the heavy lift of the department chair, and program review really should have all stakeholders in your program and departments contributing. So that could and should include part-time faculty if they are interested in contributing, and that should also include any staff that either support your department directly or interfaces with you. The other thing I want to mention is that Chris Garcia has been working on our summer stipends. So remember, anytime we have meetings during the summers, and this summer we had a ridiculous amount of meetings, we get a stipended rate for our participation in those meetings. So Chris Garcia is working on those stipends and we'll submit them to the board. Anytime a faculty member receives less than $500 of a stipend, it is not a line item on the board agenda. But if you do earn more than $500, it is called out. So you may notice that some of you are being like a line item in the next board agenda when these come forward, and some of you are not. And that's why, and it just depends if you're getting more than 500 or less than 500. And as well as I worked on the Senate TLUs for this fall and have submitted the TLUs to Gary in ed programs for processing our TLUs for this fall. So payments to you all for your hard work for the summer and the semester should be taken care of. So that concludes my Senate President report. Unless anybody has any clarifying questions for me at this time, we can move on to Senate Liaison reports. Clarifying questions? Okay, I'm seeing none. Senate liaisons prepared written reports for you all as long as there was meetings for the different committees. But if any of our Senate liaisons wants to provide a brief oral report, you are welcome to do so at this time. Go ahead and speak up now. Tara?
Hi, everyone. So I do have a written report from a previous meeting at CPC, which I will highly encourage you to read because it does provide some suggestions and guidelines as spring schedules are being created. But I also want to give an oral report from yesterday's CPC meeting because it is a time-sensitive issue. So I would like to bring to everyone's attention that at yesterday's meeting, the FA asked to put on the agenda a review of our current COVID testing protocols with a concern that the protocols, the guidelines are confusing for both faculty, staff, and as well as students, and perhaps a lack of consistency there. And one of the reasons why we really need to get everybody's eyes and ears on this topic is because we have two real crucial dates coming up that are going to change our campus landscape. So the first is that as of October 4th, that's when the vaccine mandate goes into effect. And so at that point in time, any student with a medical or religious exemption will have to have a weekly COVID test. And so we did ask Lindsay Moss to give us an update and a report on what that would look like. And she reported back that we will be using a new vendor who can come to our college on Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 to 1. And immediately folks on CPC really raised to the attention of everyone, and I'm sure some of you are thinking it right now, well, that's not probably in alignment with student need and demand. So what happens for a student who only takes Tuesday, Thursday classes on campus? Likewise, non-credit raised the point that what happens with students who are taking evening classes? And so we raised all of these concerns, and as well as raising a concern that should we actually ask more than just students with a medical or religious exemption to get tested, or should we make it broader? And one of the reasons why is because the vendor actually won't come to our campus unless we can meet certain thresholds of numbers of people to get tested, because it's just not cost effective for them. So if we have this as a resource, shouldn't we use it if we are going to make the college as safe as possible? And that leads me to that second critical date, and that's going to be January, when we're, as Rayanne just mentioned, going up to maybe as high as 65% of face-to-face instruction. And we want to make sure that everything is safe for our students. We had a student give a public comment that really raised this concern too, that students are feeling a little unsure on what those guidelines are. And the reason why is because the guidelines are really in flux right now. They're just not formalized. And I'm going to really request that everybody go back to their divisions, maybe get in touch with department chairs and ask folks who are right now teaching face-to-face to provide feedback. How's it working right now? And what's not working right now, so that we can figure this out. And, figuring it out in October will be good because we're at lower capacity, but we really have to have something solid figured out before January. So thank you, everybody. I know that was a lengthy oral report, but it's a doozy. So thanks.
Thank you so much for that, Tara. I really appreciate it. Any of our other liaisons? And I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce to the Senate the FA liaison. And she just turned her camera on. Perfect timing. So perhaps many of you know already, but she will be joining us in an official capacity, Margarita Martin del Campo. So Margarita will be representing the FA. And of course, she is very welcome to contribute to our conversations as we discuss different agenda items and provide the FA's point of view throughout the meeting. And then her responsibility will be to report back to the FA and act as that go-between between the two. We also had a discussion briefly today during Senate steering to try and identify a liaison going from the Senate to the FA. But I'm sure you can all appreciate that because of scheduling, we're looking at different people's schedules and availability and trying to figure out how to make that work. But we're really glad to have Margarita with us. And Margarita, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Here we go. Hello, everyone. Margarita Martin del Campo. She said, look at my eyebrows. I wasn't looking anyway. This is crazy. Too long in the dark, and now here comes the truth. And thank you, everyone. The FA is very happy and grateful for the opportunity to have, a place here with you. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. And I'm so happy to be here and ready to work. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah, your eyebrows look great. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Sorry, can I still ask a clarifying question about your president's report, or is that past time now?
No, sure.
Okay. So since we're not having discussion items anymore and just having action items, we don't have to vote on it just because it's an action item. Okay.
That's
and
right.
then okay. And I just want to make sure we'll still do the, do we want to vote on this thing first or not?
Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, thanks for asking this to clarify this before we jump in. So the idea here is that previously we had discussion items that if we felt important enough, we could move to action with a 3/4 vote, which we did. And therein lied the sticky point for board members, and they incorrectly assumed that that's against the Brown Act, and it's in fact not. So to avoid further confusion, and the advice that we got from the State Academic Senate was, just don't call things discussion items on your agenda, call them all action, and you don't have to take action on anything. So the part that we're simplifying really is that everything is already in action. So we will no longer need that procedural, that parliamentary procedure of moving it to action, which is quite clunky. Now, I do also think that this could potentially be problematic because that step to move things in action can slow things down. And those of us that have gone through Crossroads training and have just seen, the famous document, I'm forgetting the title of it right now, but one of the, norms of white supremacy in meeting culture is acting on things too quickly. So we will need to be mindful, but we will always have, let's say, a discussion on an item, and then we'll need a motion and a second, and then a discussion on the motion before we move on something. So it will just be that part of not having discussions being moved to action. And again, we could continue to have them, but because the Board of Trustees was so confused by that, even though it was in our bylaws, and even though it was a Senate norm for a long time, let's just remove it, because then there's no questions to be had. So that's the big change. Yeah, cool, thanks for asking that. Okay. So unless we have more liaison reports, I think we can move on to Dr. Kathy Smith. Dr. Kathy Scott. I'm gonna blame that I was rubbing my eye, Kathy, while I was reading your name on Zoom. I'm sorry.
Right, I've been called worse.
Haven't we all? All right, go
And
ahead.
actually, I've been called that before too. So
Okay, right on.
that's fine. But thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. I have a few things to talk about, and I'll start with what Tara raised about CPC yesterday. That wasn't on my list, but I'll talk about it since he raised it. We are going to change the testing to Monday and Thursday to capture the Tuesday, Thursday students. So I heard that this morning, so I thought I would just provide that clarification. And I've been in communication with Dr. Murillo today, and she is going to be addressing the testing. That was her first day, and I kind of know what that's like to be in a CPC meeting that you're suddenly running. It was my third day when I was in that position, and it's kind of a difficult one when you don't have all the information in front of you. So anyway, she will be addressing it, but Monday and Thursday, which I think will be easier for students and faculty. All right, I did want to announce, if you're not aware already, that we did get a new Title V grant. It was something we applied for about 18 months ago and didn't anticipate getting at this point, but it did come through. I think they had a top level and then they had a bottom level if they had money, and we were in that group. So we got funded, and it's $2.993 million over 3 years. I'm sorry, 5 years. And it is a Title V HSI, Hispanic Serving Institutions grant. And it has some major objectives, and I'll just tell you briefly what they are so I don't dwell too much on it. But the first one is outreach, enrollment, and academic planning. And it is designed to get more students with a comprehensive student ed plan. The next one is increased completion in transfer level math and English. The third one is increase retention, specifically for Hispanic and low-income students. All of these are Hispanic and low-income students. Decrease time to degree completion, decrease the number of units that students take from 81 to 74, and increase transfer. So it's largely in the student services and instruction area in terms of math and English. There's PD in here, all kinds of activities. It's too extensive to talk about here, but I did want to let you know. It does call for a faculty project director. So we will be going out for that very shortly, and just wanted to make people aware. Yes, I put the email out about the 60 to 65% online, I'm sorry, face-to-face for spring. But as you know, we still have to remain flexible because we just don't know what's going to happen. But we had to provide direction with the department chairs, so we did that. And it doesn't have to be across the board, as the email said. It could be higher in some areas, a little bit lower in other areas. We're working very hard on that October 1st deadline that Tara also spoke to. Our concern is about, they gave the number yesterday. I thought it was about 4,500 students have uploaded their vaccine card. And I know how students are, and I know you all know how they are too sometimes. They can procrastinate. So we really need faculty to keep reminding students to upload their card so we have actual accurate data. For the students in the face-to-face classes, you know, we don't want to be dropping people who have been vaccinated. We're going to work with students. We're going to call them. We're developing plans for working with that potentially unvaccinated student population. And we need faculty help. So more will be coming forward about that. We have an athletic director starting on Monday. His name is Jerry Hanula, and he has been the associate athletic director at Saddleback for 24 years. So he comes to us with a lot of experience. He's interim, like a lot of us. So sorry about that. Okay, I've been doing a lot of visiting around campus. Just a couple of things I wanted to say. I was really impressed with the SJ and the Umoja and the Basic Needs Center opening. That was great, phenomenal. I went over to visit the LRC today. It was really nice to see it open and students there. The library is opening tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the library faculty for helping to get that open when we had a bunch, and I see you, Ellen, a bunch of students out there waiting. We're really appreciative of the efforts of the faculty in that area. I went to the journalism, the channels, and visited with the students for about an hour today. That was fun. Saw the well. I'm trying to get acclimated as fast as I can, and whatever you can do, I would appreciate, and I continue to appreciate your patience with me. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Moving on to, oh, sorry, let me ask, any clarifying questions for Kathy? Ruth, go ahead.
Yeah, for the Title V grant, who on the administrative side will be helping run that? Or how will that be run? Oh, we can't hear you.
When we submitted it, Elizabeth was in that role, and she is not a faculty member any longer. So we don't know all the answers right now, but we're looking at, right now the project director says 80%. We could potentially make the project director 100% since we had assigned 20% to Elizabeth. We do know that we're going to get some support from the foundation just in terms of reporting and budget assistance and things like that. Some of the logistics help. So it's going to be under me to some extent. So I'll be responsible for it. The EVP has a role in it, but I don't know that we're going to replace Elizabeth in that same role.
Okay. So I just want to make sure you know that in the past, we've had some issues with the managing of grants, not any of Elizabeth's, but in terms of going out for grants and how that panned out. So just going to ask that you keep us well informed. I'm glad you brought it here and that you include us in that process of deciding how it'll be handled.
Yeah, the faculty position will be advertised. I believe it's going out Monday morning and it will close on Friday. And we've reached out to Ray for faculty or herself or a designee to be on the committee. But it will be faculty because that's what was promised when the grant went in, and we'll stick with that. So it's an internal recruitment, and I don't see us bringing in an outsider aside from that, to my knowledge.
Thank you.
Yes, and I have appointed a designee to serve on that committee. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great questions, Ruth. Thanks. So without further questions, moving on to item 5.4. So just a little announcement on the change around this item slightly. When Dr. Benjamin was briefly here and an item was requested to be agendized by the Senate, it included the person's name, Vice President Lindsay Moss. Dr. Benjamin felt as though that was inappropriate to include the name. And so we talked at Senate steering on how to handle when requests for items to be agendized by the Senate includes personal information or oh, well, I don't have another example. Let's just go with personal information. So Senate steering decided to create a form that the faculty body can use, and faculty can submit this anonymously to submit items for the Senate to consider to be agendized. So this is the same language or similar language that's used in our agenda item, and a request to include a brief explanation of the item that you are requesting to agendize. And there's very clear language that the exact language provided will be published. So the ask is that you be very mindful of what you are sharing. And this way it's not Senate steering or the Senate president that can come under criticism for items that are included on this agenda. You can leave, a faculty member can leave their name or not. Depending on the item, a faculty member might want to leave their name so that we can follow up with them about the item and the action that we may or may not take. The other thing I would like to share, that if we receive threatening, violent hate speech submitted to this form, it will not be included on the agenda, and it will be submitted through the report of concern form that the college has. And if it's spam, considered spam or just gibberish, it will not be included on our agenda item. And I can just make a note that a submission of spam was received. And then if people would like to request what it was to determine if it was spam themselves, I would, of course, then forward it on to them. So that's a change. So share this out. Faculty can still reach out to senators via email, via text, orally for request of agenda items. And then what I would ask is that whomever is on Senate leadership receiving that request to use this form to craft the language. Again, so that that language is what gets posted, so that there is no question or concern about why something was omitted or not, because the prevailing practice will be that things aren't omitted unless they are threatening, hate speech, violent, or spam. think that will be a really nice, inclusive and productive change in that procedure. All right. Our consent agenda. We have 2 items to consider. One is some Senate appointed positions to various committees. We have some, of course, as we do every year, some committee membership changes. And so it's the Academic Senate's job to appoint members. So here are the different faculty that wanted to serve in different roles and on different committees. So I hope the Senate supports that. And item 6.3, this item is agendized here as per sound legal advice that we received as the Senate, which was, even though the allegations of the Brown Act violation were unfounded, according to the prevailing legal opinion, it's still best to cure and correct any allegations lodged against you. And with that in mind, I frankly don't want to take any more of Senate's valuable time discussing these as we have discussed these items. I'll editorialize ad nauseum over the summer. And so here they are on our consent agenda. So as a reminder how consent agendas work, we approve the consent agenda in a vote as a whole. If somebody, if we do not want to approve the consent agenda as a whole, a request can be made to remove a particular item from the consent agenda, at which time it will be removed from the consent agenda and then placed at the bottom of our agenda for discussion. So those are our 2 consent agenda items. So I would like to entertain a motion to accept our consent agenda today.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ellen. We have a motion to approve our consent agenda as posted, made by Senator Ellen Carey, seconded by Senator Robin Goodnow. Now we shall do a roll call vote for our consent agenda. So going in order. So you can vote yes, you can vote no, or you may abstain, and an abstention is a non-vote. Benjamin Reyes,
Yes.
Counselor Jen,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
Jenny,
Yes.
Joy Coons is absent from today's meeting. Dee Dee,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Kathy O'Connor,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Trisha,
Yes.
and Anna.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our consent agenda passes with a unanimous vote. Okay. Let's see. Okay, information items. Item 7.1 was on last week's agenda. No, we didn't meet last week, the week before. And these are just information items. So a number of board agenda, I think I carried over that mistake, board policy, there we go, and administrative procedures have gone through BPAP, and they are being shared out to constituency groups, including us, as information items. So to make things easy, hopefully, the links were removed and you can find the appropriate AP or BP in the linked folder. You should be able to see the changes. So should you have questions about any of the changes there, for the most part, they are either legal changes or small editing corrections. Please reach out to one of the faculty BPAP reps, myself, Ana Garcia, and Daniel Spitz from business. Okay, you may have seen the email already. Hopefully you have. Darren Gerard put out a call for sabbatical leave proposals. So his email is linked there. So the deadline for sabbatical leaves is Monday, September 27th. Okay, as per our Constitution and bylaws, it was mentioned last semester as well, but we do have the need for an election of our non-credit part-time senator. So the reason why we're having it now is because Trisha Matone took over for Sachi Oates, and her term, Sachi's term and Trisha's term ended at the May of 2021. And so the way we do our part-time elections, as codified in our bylaws and constitution, is that we hold those elections during the following semester. So that's now. So the announcement that we will open the election happens now. The past president is the one that's charged with conducting the election. That, of course, is Ruth Morales. And so tomorrow she will be sending an email to non-credit faculty announcing that the election has started. She will be first calling for nominations. And then after the nomination period is closed, we will have the election period, and we will be doing voting by ballot, and we do that with a Google form. So non-credit faculty will be hearing more about that from Ruth, but that will be happening in the next few weeks. I am really pleased and honored to share the news about SBCC opening a quote dream center. This is just the working title for the space. They will probably come up with an official name as mentioned in the information here. Unfortunately, no, Paloma is here. Paloma, do you want to speak to this? I could have sworn, Paloma, you told me you weren't going to be here. Is she? Yeah, you're here. Paloma, I'm not crazy. You said you weren't going to be here, right?
I'm muted. You can't hear me. No, you're not crazy. We originally had another meeting scheduled at the same time, and we were able to reschedule it. So no, you're not crazy. And yes, I am here.
Okay, can you want to speak to it? I don't want to fumble, especially now that I know you're here, because I'm going to be very anxious about misspeaking. So please.
No problem. I mean, I don't know if everybody had a chance to read the little blurb that Roxanne and I wrote. And if you've been in other committee meetings recently, you've probably already heard this already. So I apologize if it's a duplicate, but we are very excited to announce that we are going to be opening a Dream Center very, very soon. The Dream Center is going to support all of our undocumented AB 540 and DACA students. It will be a hub where students can access financial resources, information, free immigration legal resources, community, belonging. It will be part of the CESJ and located, if you've been down to their open house recently, you've seen how amazing it is. There is a special room that will be dedicated to the Dream Center near Umoja and connected to CESJ. So it will report to the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, just like Umoja does. We will be opening a position as soon as we have all the paperwork completed and processed appropriately for a SPA to work in this role. And this is being funded by the Chancellor's Office, ongoing allocation from the Chancellor's Office, thanks to AB 1645. And then we also wrote a small grant or small proposal to have C funding support this. And then Roxanne and I just recently submitted a proposal to help purchase some startup furniture to equip the space through the Santa Barbara Fund for Santa Barbara. So I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have. But we are very, very excited. And I want to also just take a second to acknowledge that this has been, years in the making, and there have been many, many people in many different departments who have contributed to this work, who have contributed to supporting undocumented students in different ways, in different places for a really long time. And this is just a culmination of all that work that people have done together to get here. So we're very excited and hopeful. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, thank you. And as am I. And, not only does it align with our vision and mission of the college, but, regardless of that, like, it's going to serve a lot of our students really well. So this is really exciting. Good work all around. Yeah. Okay. Item 7.5, the ASCCC conducted a campus and district survey for fall of 2021, asking specifically about things like vaccine mandates for COVID, in-person versus online services and the like. I participated as, the representative of SBCC, and they shared out the results with Senate President. So I posted the campus survey there for everyone to review. We may find this useful during our discussions about what will or will not happen moving forward. It's nice to know what is happening out around the state in this very official way. Well, in this way, at least. I don't believe Wendy is with us yet. I'm not seeing her, and we have a presentation at 4 p.m. So I'll give her a few minutes to come, and we'll just continue down in our agenda, which brings us to item 8.1, the Constitution petition. So just a little background for the public. In spring of 2020, roundabout January, some constitutional changes were proposed in a very similar manner via petition, because that's what the Constitution outlines, to the academic senate, and they were passed then. And an ad hoc committee was formed to address not just the petition and the constitutional changes, but also rework our bylaws. Then COVID hit Santa Barbara and we all moved online. That was in March of 2020. And since then, the Academic Senate, of course, has been very busy, as have our faculty. And we've been discussing the need to revisit this work and perhaps take a new direction or the same direction with our Constitution changes. So during our Academic Senate retreat in August, we had a breakout group focus on the constitutional changes specifically. And born out of that work was a petition to present to the Academic Senate as part of the process to request that constitutional changes be considered. So please let me further explain the process before we discuss on this item and potentially vote to move this along. So you're hearing the initial proposal at Senate. Perhaps we can entertain a motion to accept this petition and recommend these changes to the Constitution. If that passes, an ad hoc group would then be formed. The ad hoc group can either be sitting senators or faculty at large, part-time, credit, non-credit, full-time, and be made up of anybody that's willing and available to do the work. Then it's very specific. The 20-day business mark, the proposed revisions of the Constitution must come back to the Senate. If the Senate is agreeable to them, then those constitutional changes, recommended changes, can be shared out to the faculty body for consideration. There's also a requirement for a faculty plenary to review the changes. So this is kind of like that period of review for the public, but the public in this case is our faculty body, right? And then after the faculty plenary, we would have an electronic vote. And what's tricky about our Constitution is that the majority of full-time faculty must vote for the vote to be valid. And I say that that's tricky because the last few times, and especially back in 2012, the one that really sticks out in my mind, there were constitutional changes proposed then by the Academic Senate, and they failed, not that there wasn't support for them, but because enough full-time faculty members did not vote. So if we're going to move in this direction, which by the way, I think we should, it's going to be up to us as Senate leadership to really ask our faculty to engage in this, pay attention, and most importantly, vote. And by faculty, I specifically am talking about full-time faculty in this case. And then during our last Senate meeting of the semester, we will announce the results. Now, because the Constitution and bylaws are so related, and the bylaws also need updating, we'll work on not only the Constitution, but also the bylaws as well. That was also work that came out of our Senate retreat by a different group. And so we'll make sure that those two documents are congruent, but also the bylaws are much easier to change. They just require the majority of Senate to approve the changes. So it's really the Constitution that is the heavy lift, and then the bylaws we can like attend to throughout the semester as we're engaging in all of these conversations and this important work. So as per, the Constitution, the highlighted recommend changes are here. Please know that if we approve this petition and this work and these recommended changes, the Constitution changes have to, no, let me say this differently. The changes that can be made are narrowly, I can't think. We can only do these things. Like what's listed here is the only thing that can be changed. We can't work outside of these things. And if we want to, that would initiate a new process next semester. So as we're engaging in this work, if we're like, oh, gee, what about this other thing? If it's not on this list, if it's not on this petition, it can't be changed this time around. So that's why this list is so important and our understanding of what the scope of the work will be for this time around. Does that make sense? Okay. So here it is. The membership of those that are suggesting these changes are there. You need at least 5 members of the Senate. We have more than that. So the document's here. So questions, comments, concerns, and then I'd love to entertain a motion to approve, or rather what might be cleaner and faster. It's a motion to accept, and then we can discuss. Ruth?
To be clear, this list, can it still be modified before we move it forward? As in right now?
I believe so, as long as the members of the committee are agreeable to that.
Okay, I'm just asking in case someone here wanted to provide something to include on the list for the potential ad hoc committee to consider revising.
And I just want to, thanks for that, Ruth. And I just want to share that this petition was shared with the Faculty Association a couple of weeks ago. Cornelia shared it there. So the Faculty Association is aware of, creating a senator that represents the faculty and things like that. Okay. So again, I'd love to entertain a motion to accept this petition and initiate the ad hoc committee. Robbie?
So moved.
So Robbie made a motion to accept the proposed recommended changes to our Constitution. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh. Who?
That was me, Anna.
Anna. Thanks, Anna. Okay, so we'll do our roll call vote. Okay, so the votes that you can have are yes, no, or of course you may abstain. And an abstention is a non-vote. Ben?
Yes.
Counselor Jen?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Joy Coons is absent. Dee Dee?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jess?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Trisha?
Yes.
And Anna? I missed it, Anna. Did you say it? Did others hear it?
Yes.
There we go. Thanks. Excellent. So that passes unanimously. So right now, I'll put a call out if any senators are interested in engaging in this work. I know we put a call out before, but for real this time. And you're willing and available to contribute, even if it's electronically via like Google Doc commenting, like that would be helpful. Please let me know, shoot me an email, and then I'll also put a faculty-wide call for participation in the ad hoc committee. And then we will start meeting and we'll bring things back within the 20-day mark. So please expect that then. Awesome. And the time is now 3:58 p.m. And I just want to say, I'm like super duper proud of us that we were able to get that in before our 4 p.m. timed item. And I'm seeing a person who's not named Wendy like I expected. Oh, Wendy is here. Okay. Hey, Wendy. So she is here. I was going to say, but I'm also seeing a person named Evan who is identifying as FAC. So I assume that the two of you are here to talk to us about FAC, and I am going to allow you, I assume you probably have things to screen share. So I will change the meeting sharing. There we go. And so first of all, thank you for being with us here today for the Academic Senate meeting. Thank you for the offer. We really appreciate it. And take it away, Wendy and or Evan.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. And I didn't intend to screen share today just because I know that your schedule's a little tight. So I thought we would just chat. I'm going to talk for just a few minutes and then I'm actually going to turn it over to Evan. So I'm Wendy Brill-Weinkoop. I'm the current FAC president. I started in June and I have a 2-year term. And I thought it would be helpful to go around to all the local senates, introduce myself, and just give you a quick update on what FAC has been doing. And so hopefully I can do it quickly and then you guys can get back to your meeting because I know Senate work is very, very busy. Evan will introduce himself in a second, and he is our executive director at FAC. So he's sort of my partner in crime for the next 2 years. But I'm from College of the Canyons. I've been there full-time for, this is my 25th year. I did teach also at Chaffey College and some other schools in higher ed. I participated in my local Senate for well over a decade, I think 16 or 17 years. And I was also involved in my union leadership. So I kind of have experience in both wheelhouses. I found FAC several years ago through doing legislative advocacy with the ASCCC and joined the board. And then now I'm FAC president. So if you asked me a few years ago, I wouldn't have said that was my path, but here we are. I know that this is a contract district and I just want to say thank you so much for your membership with FAC. But for any of you who are unaware of who FAC is and what we do, FAC stands for the Faculty Association of the California Community Colleges. No, we're not the union. We're separate. We're actually formed back by faculty as a professional organization to represent faculty back in the 1950s, nonprofit membership organization. And our mission is to empower faculty in the California community colleges. Back in the 1950s, there were no faculty senates or unions. And it really was FAC who was instrumental in helping pass the legislation in California that created both the faculty senates and the unions. Fun fact. So why am I here today? I have found in doing the work with ASCCC FAC and also statewide union leadership that there are a lot of faculty who don't know who we are and what we do. And so I think that it's one of my goals as presidents to make sure to get around and that everybody in the system knows who FAC is and how important we are and making sure that Sacramento is making good choices for our students and for our faculty. I also hope as part of my goal that we can engage way more faculty in advocacy. So look out for some opportunities that'll be coming your way to learn about how you can get engaged in statewide advocacy because we need your help. So one example of why we need your help, there is a bill, AB 928 this year. It has not made it all the way through the process, but we expect that it will become law. And it is a transfer bill and it doesn't do any of the things to fix transfer that we need, like impaction at the CSUs or help for student basic needs. But what it does is it mandates that all students are placed in the ADT pathway. Shockingly, all system partners were aligned in opposition to this bill: FAC, the ASCCC, the students, the Student Senate, the League, which is the administrators and board members, and also the Chancellor's office. And yet we could not push back hard enough against the bill to stop it. The legislature, it's met almost no opposition. It'll likely go through the full Senate in a couple of weeks, and we don't think it'll be vetoed by the governor. We're still trying. We haven't given up. But I think if we had more faculty involved and we had started earlier in the process, that maybe we would have a chance to stop bad legislation. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to our executive director. He's awesome, Evan Hawkins, and he's going to tell you a little bit more. And then we'll let you go about your meeting. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Wendy. And thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it. We know you have a busy schedule. Evan Hawkins, Executive Director for FAC. As Wendy mentioned, we're very grateful for the contractual relationship we have with your union. So for any of you that are union members, you're also members of our organization. And maybe I've met some of you, or you've seen some of me, seen me on campus. In the past, I would visit with Cornelia from time to time to make sure we're engaged with the work of the union. Of course, what happens in Sacramento impacts you all greatly. Wendy just mentioned a specific bill that we're working on, but of course, funding is a big piece of this too. And we have a funding formula that has been a disadvantage for the Santa Barbara district in particular. So we've been working with your union to ensure that your college can remain appropriately funded to the extent that it is now. Of course, we understand that our community colleges really need even more funding. And that's something we advocate for and have had some success doing, most specifically in the current budget year. Where we advocated for an increase of $100 million for more full-time faculty hires. We're really excited about that. That's a significant success that doesn't happen every year. So hopefully you all will have some full-time faculty colleagues, some new full-time faculty colleagues within the coming year as a result of that additional funding. There was another $100 million for part-time faculty office hours as well. So hopefully that's something that can benefit your part-time faculty. I see some familiar faces on here. I just wanted to highlight one person. I see Kathy O'Connor on here. We worked together with Sally Sanger, one of our former board members, on an issue regarding COVID and being able to offer courses outdoors. We engaged with legislators, with county supervisors, and just want to let you know that because of the special relationship we have with your union in particular, we do also do these sort of very specific things that you need help with in the advocacy, policy, or political space. And we know nowadays so much of what happens in those spaces impacts our classrooms and impacts our students. So I think more now than ever, being involved in this work, being part of FAC, sort of, advocating alongside with us, it's so critical and so crucial. Certainly we have a election coming up, right? And we know that sort of these things have consequences for all of the work that we do. So that's why we exist. That's the work that we do. And we certainly appreciate the opportunity to provide an update and share a little bit of that work, but also just to sort of make the call that I hope you all can sort of stay engaged with our work. For those of you that are members, you'll recognize our weekly email that you get every Saturday. That's a good way to stay involved. And for those of you that aren't, please, feel free to reach out, to get more information, or if there's any questions you have about any issues coming up. We know, in addition to everything I mentioned, we see every year the legislature is more and more interested in legislating curriculum, and that specifically interferes with the work that you all are doing, and that's something that we push back against. So lots of things going on, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of it today.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for our guests today? Okay, I'm seeing none.
Okay, if I can ask if you know anybody who doesn't know about FAC, if you can, maybe pick 10 friends in the system in the next year and let them know about FAC and what we do, we'd greatly appreciate it. Again, that's the goal, to try and make sure that every faculty member knows about the importance of FAC and what we do. It was really great to see everybody, and thank you for letting us jump in and take a little bit of your time today. And that baby is adorable. It's hard to concentrate with that beautiful.
Sorry, she's our unofficial meeting mascot.
Yes, great mascot.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you sharing that information. I think it's valuable for our faculty.
Thank you very much.
Feel free to stay with us. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thanks, Evan. All right, getting back to our agenda. Where am I? I have no idea. There I am. Okay. Item 8.2. Board agendas. I have to fix that. I keep doing it. I'm going to totally forget to fix that. I'm going to keep saying that. Board policies and administrative procedures from BPAP. Now, this is a separate item on today's agenda that is for discussion and action. So they are different BPs and APs listed here, meaning that there are more substantive changes that have been recommended either by chapter leads or constituency groups or whomever. And they are here for Senate's feedback. And then they'll go back to BPAP. So what I'd like to do today, and anytime a BP or an AP comes to Senate for feedback, what I would like us to do is kind of maybe pull out a few of concern and to address them via discussion, and then try and move like, let's say a clump or a bunch, or maybe only one at a time, maybe move those forward back to BPAP with recommendation. Or if we don't have feedback, to just like lump a bunch together so that I can take it back to BPAP and say, Senate's good on these, we saw them, we didn't have anything, so we'll just move those along. So we're probably not going to get through all of these today. So hopefully you've had some time to review them and get feedback from your faculty. The other thing I would like to share with you is this is something that we could certainly do outside of the meeting time, meaning as you review the APs and BPs, if you're noticing things that you want to wordsmith, please let me know. We don't need Senate's recommendation on wordsmithing, right? We don't have to talk commas and synonyms. So that's something that we can do outside, but big conceptual things, Senate needs to weigh in on. So just think about it like that. So with that, I'll turn it over to you all. There are a number here, and we do have some other items, important items on our agenda today. So what I would like to offer is let's spend about, let's say 10 to 15 minutes working through some of these BPAPs, BPs or APs. And then if we don't get to like more than that, we will table the rest for the next meeting because many of these are not time sensitive items. So if anybody would like to open it up for discussion, comments, concerns, questions, go for it. And what would be really awesome is if all of you reviewed these and have no feedback and we just move them all forward to BPAP. So if senators have had a chance to review these and don't have feedback, we could certainly entertain a motion to recommend to BPAP faculty reps to share these back with BPAP as no recommended changes or feedback from the Senate. Robin.
I'll just break the silence. I just have a question. Since these aren't time sensitive, we're in third week and I haven't really had a chance to collect feedback from my division. Is it possible to put this off until a later meeting? Do we have to move on anything today? You kind of indicated that no.
We do. Hold on one second.
Did I do that?
Okay, they're not necessarily time sensitive. We can certainly do that, Robin. We are meeting next week. And there's not a BPAP between now and then. So I think that that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I am going to implore that senators absolutely positively get feedback from their faculty between now and then, and that we do everything that we can to move them forward. And here's why. These BPs and APs have been looked at by BPAP over the summer, and in an attempt to respect faculty's time, because we're supposedly off contract, as I keep hearing over the summer, we didn't bring them forward to Senate. And so BPAP has been waiting for feedback for some time now. They're not time sensitive, but like at a certain point, faculty have to provide the feedback or not. And so I am asking faculty to do like everything that you can so that next week we can wrap these up and move forward. Does that sound good with everybody? Okay, so the information BPs and APs are not going to return, right? Those are just information items. And then the ones that were listed for action today will return. As faculty have questions, comments, or concerns, if you want to like add comments to the PDFs or the documents that have been shared, that would also expedite our conversation a little bit. So please, senators, feel free to do that as well. So I'm hearing that we are tabling this discussion. Can I get like a nod or thumbs up or like a coffee icon? Awesome. Sunglasses emoji. Awesome. A physical coffee cup. I love it. All right. So tabling item 8.2 for absolutely attending to next meeting. Item 8.3. So this is an item that came forward to us through our Senate processes of requesting to agendize items. As such, Senate voted to agendize this at our last meeting. So the background information is that at the August 25th meeting, the Academic Senate received a request to agendize this item. And the language was take action of getting Vice President of Business Services, Lindsay Moss, to respond to faculty emails, especially questions regarding her proposals. Faculty have emailed Vice President Moss with time-sensitive items and have not received responses, even with requests for communication. So, so here it is for us to discuss. I ask that we come up with very specific actionable items as a Senate for sharing out. And that could take the form of a number of things. That could be empowering me to make some formal request of Vice President Moss, of President's Cabinet, of the Superintendent Cabinet, Superintendent President, and so on and so forth. So we can discuss experiences, opinions, thoughts around this item, and then we can come to some, hopefully some conclusion on the matter. So does anyone want to start us off on this discussion item? Elizabeth.
Yeah, hi. So People at our department meetings, the last few times people have brought this up. And so I think it's definitely important to talk about. And we actually had a conversation as a department about faculty responding to students in a timely manner and how we're, a couple people have, been chastised by various administrators for not responding to students in a timely manner. So we decided as a department that 48 hours or 2 business days is like a good amount of time to respond to someone. So I'm wondering if maybe the suggestion from a faculty member was, can we talk to administration about what a reasonable amount of time is to expect a response and see what they say and see if there's a way to work with them on that. So that was the idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And you're getting a couple of thumbs up. So people are definitely liking that. Yeah, so there is in our AP for like faculty, I forget the name, AP, is it 7210? It says very clearly that we are not just to respond to students in a timely manner, but actually our department as well. And I think it specifically says like within like 24 hours or it gives some time frame. I'll look it up in a second so that I'm not fumbling over that I give you the exact language that's in there. And it's also something listed in our faculty evaluation, the checklist. And that's because like the checklist mirrors what's in the AP for our expectations of faculty. So I think that that's a really good point. And I think that it would be really helpful to mirror that language. I also think that the idea of expanding this to many administrators is a good idea. It's been my experience that it's not just Vice President Moss that doesn't respond to emails, but because of her, excuse me, I swallowed something, that rose to the level of asking the Senate to agendize it. But I think that there are many instances that deans and sorry, administrators don't get back to us. Trisha, please.
Okay, I'll give you a chance to get a sip of water or something. Yeah, no, I was just wondering, it kind of follows up on what was just said, what is the protocol? Is there anything what is the procedure if somebody sends something, a faculty or an administrator, do they have a, does it get triage somewhere? I was just curious if there was any information about what the policy is or the procedure is, or if there is one for administrators to handle. And if there's not one formally, is there an informal one that they could share?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I don't think that there's a formal or informal policy. I think there's a couple maybe understanding. So I know, like, for example, pipeline email is the official communication of the college, right? So if a student is put on academic probation or, something else, it is pipeline email that is the expected method of communication. And then, like I said, there's this idea, and I think I'm realizing that it's in evaluation of faculty, AP 7151, that you have to respond quickly. I still need to find it.
Yeah.
I'm choking again.
Yeah, so just no, go ahead.
But I don't think that there's anything for administrators. We can certainly look at the AP for administrators. But I mean, maybe this is one of those times where it's like there is a unwritten societal norm expectation that, like, when you send an email to your supervisor or somebody in an organization that's above you and it is in a decision-making role, that they will somehow engage in that. I mean, I think that to me, in my mind, that's how it works. But also that's very cultural too, right? So that might be like normal for me, but it might not be like normal for somebody else. So it's certainly my expectation, and I'm getting the impression that it's other people's expectations, but I don't think that it's codified anywhere. So I'm gonna look for the AP language and I'm gonna call on Jess.
I was just going to tell you were right. It's AB 7210 and it says a timely manner. So it doesn't actually give a time.
Vague.
So, okay, so the language is timely manner. Do we want to shore up what that timely manner is or not? That's not a rhetorical question, but an inquisition for you all. Ellen, did your hand go up?
I had just raised my hand because I had looked it up as well.
Well, I'd just be curious too, like is there a flow chart kind of thing? Because I mean, I've not experienced this with the Greater Campus, but just internally when we had some, questions, and sometimes people will reply right away with, I'll look into it, but then that's the last I hear for a couple months. And so I just wondered, if that was something that the Senate would recommend that the administrators develop, or would that be something the Senate would recommend that they develop with suggestions from faculty, like about specifying the time or about specifying, because I mean, I'm just also trying to think about, how the number, and if there's only one person answering, that could be, a potential, not an excuse, but maybe a factor. So I don't know, I was just wondering what the extent of our recommendation would be.
Yeah, so yeah, I found the language. Thank you. That word timely is important. Responds in a timely manner to professional communications from faculty, staff, and students. So that is in our AP 7151 evaluation of faculty. So it's something we are evaluated on, quite literally. Ruth.
I'm not sure about establishing like an exact timeline. I think one place where we can start is get kind of a fresh start, is since we do have Dr. Murillo here as our new incoming president. She has superintendent president. She has voiced that she is interested in addressing the campus climate survey that we've put on the shelf and had there for a while. This is one thing that we can point out to her that is a faculty concern and that we'd like to have her or, convey to her team that, kind of set the tone that it's something that needs to be addressed, and it would help even if just a little bit with morale and improving communication here on campus.
So Ruth, is your recommendation for I to talk with Dr. Murillo about this, or for like there to be a conversation during our CPC meetings with her?
Yeah, we can bring it up there, sure. I think that this should be something that's across the board, but we can certainly bring it up there. But as Senate supporting, this is a start if we don't have any other things that are concrete or in addition to whatever else comes up here.
Yeah, and I do want to share out, and Ruth knows this as well, that during our faculty meetings, CPC faculty meetings with both Dr. Benjamin and Dr. Goswami, concerns around lack of responses to questions via email has been brought up there. So it has been brought up there, but we do have a new superintendent president. Kathy?
I'd like to suggest that maybe you do bring this up in your meetings with both Dr. Scott and Dr. Murillo as just a general concern. I think it's unfair to call out one person. I know Lindsay's been overwhelmed with not just her own job, but every other job on campus. We have a change in administration. I think that we're back on campus. A lot of us are. Why don't we just start with a discussion? Because I don't think this is a problem necessarily with any one person or one group. I think it happens campus wide. And Patricia's right, sometimes we email people and we hear, well, we'll get back to you, and then nobody ever gets back to you. And it's just basically because everybody's overwhelmed. But I think if we just have a collegial discussion and we ask for, responses, and maybe it can be a group response in some situations where there's a lot of questions about the same thing, like with the HERF fund. That was really probably Rudy's responsibility, and he's been overwhelmed, but we didn't know that, and we weren't told that. And so, there was just some miscommunication there. But I would like to start with a collegial discussion with the administration and see where that takes us.
Thanks, Kathy. So I'll share again that these collegial conversations have happened. I am very much willing to have them again. I just want to make sure that I was heard, that they have happened. And I also want to challenge the use of that one person is being called out. So again, we discussed why the name was included. This person has a leadership role at the college. We are constantly in talks about accountability and transparency. It would be completely unfair and unhelpful to have a conversation around, quote, someone not reading their emails when it would be passive aggressively obvious who that person was. I will also share that I would hope that all of us have empathy for how overwhelmed and underappreciated people are on this campus, but I also ask that that's reciprocal. Every single person in this meeting is overwhelmed, and we are being evaluated professionally in our AP for timely responses to faculty, staff, and students. So I think what we're asking for here is not anything heroic, and we are asking for parity from administrators. So I think that that was an important thing for me to say, and I've digressed, but I'd like to hear from Robbie and then Jenny.
Well, you said one thing I was going to say, which is parity. I think that's an important element to this. I like the idea of bringing it up at CPC, and I would...
Wait, hold on. CPC faculty meetings or CPC?
Both. I think the CPC rep from Senate could bring it up at the full CPC. And I also think talking to the EVP and the superintendent president is a good idea in the faculty CPC with the president.
Okay.
But two...
Okay, got it.
I think they're both important. But the two spins that I think are important to put on it, one is that we're just asking for parity, as you said. But the second one is that this is coming up again, and that it's bad enough that it got asked by a faculty member to be placed on our agenda. So it's like, this is a next level request for us to no, really this time get on it.
So you're saying because it was agendized, that has escalated things, as opposed to previously, it was just Senate leadership privately asking these things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what it's supposed to, but it does feel like an escalation to me when one of our constituents says, can you please put this on the agenda?
Yeah. Thanks, Robbie. Jenny?
And along those lines, I think, like, if we're trying to figure out how to handle this or what we want to have in a conversation, one part of it is like what is the expectation? What is timely manner? Do we want to define that? But the other is what's the recourse when that isn't met? Because I'm guessing whoever submitted that was probably totally frustrated and was thinking, who do I turn to? What can I do to make sure that my need for communication is met? I don't know who to go to when this person's a manager. You know, that's in our AP for faculty evals, so we're held accountable. I know we had talked about our role or expressing something about managers evals. You know, is communication a part of that? That's something to maybe implement if not, but also just so that faculty feel like, okay, if that timely manner of communication is not met, what do we do? Who do we go to when that's the case?
Thank you for that. Recourse is a really interesting idea. And I'll offer that I think that we currently have an informal recourse, which is anger and resentment. And I think that if we address it, while this may be a painful conversation and an embarrassing conversation for some, and people are feeling as though, quote, people are being called out, I would like to really think of this as being called in. You're being called in to engaging with faculty, right? Like you're being called in to answering our comments, questions, and concerns so that it doesn't go into a black box and then we show up as ranting, raving maniacs at meetings, right? Which is, I mean, it's how I've been for a few years now, right? Because there's, yeah. So anyways, I think that timely responses from our administrators to faculties, perfectly reasonable questions and concerns and inquiries would go a long way. And also, you know, when I'm thinking about this, a simple got it, thanks would be helpful, not just that it's going into a black box, or I don't know, you need to ask this other person this, right? Would also go a long way.
And can I say one more thing on that? I said the word recourse, which I think is appropriate because it suggests there would be like an action or process to remedy it, but I don't mean that in necessarily a punitive way, because it can also be problem solving. Like if someone were really overwhelmed and said, dude, I cannot get to 60 emails in a day, I need someone to help me out. Or, you know, this person's really annoying and they email me 10 times a day, I need you to intervene. It can also be about problem solving.
Totally. And oftentimes the administrators, at least that I'm thinking of, also have administrative assistants. And so, you know, what does that role play? And like, yeah, so what support do they need to engage with us? Yeah. Ellen and then Anna.
I support what Jenny said about both recourse and approaching that as a problem-solving endeavor. I also wanted to pick up where Robbie left off in terms of the initial request that we agendize this and the level of concern on the part of at least the one faculty member who made that request. I don't know the details that person was referring to, but they mentioned the time sensitive HERF funding. And I think I want to highlight that because that can have a direct impact on students. And I think it's really clear if I don't respond to a student in a timely manner, that has a very direct impact on students. And I think it's not necessarily as obvious if an administrator failing to respond in a timely manner to a faculty member, whether or not that has a direct impact on students, but certainly in the case of her funding, it can, and I think in many other cases as well. So I just want to emphasize that that the problem solving we need to do about this is for the sake of our students, not just because we as faculty members are wanting to complain about administrators.
Anna.
Yeah, Ellen kind of said a lot of what I was going to share. I also want to say that I think this is an opportunity for us to continue to re-envision, you know, what culture on this campus looks like. I think being explicit and clear about expectations around communication, knowing that that has been a major issue and contributing, you know, to a lot of the campus climate issues that have come up and things like that. I think that would be really helpful. I do see value in having this discussion at a meeting like CPC because it does have a wide array of constituents from all different areas of campus. Because it is a campus-wide issue. And in this situation, yeah, there was one specific person that's named, but she's not the only person who's doing this. You know, we all probably have had an less than timely response that we have sent and that we have received or not. And so I just, yeah, this particular situation, I think escalated because of the time piece, the impact of not getting responses. I think it's also, for me, bringing up a lot of issues around a lot of our COVID response stuff. And, you know, the importance of feeling like I'm able to communicate with my students what the expectation is around, you know, them coming to campus, them getting tested, them getting vaccinated. And so I just, yeah, I think it's there's a big rubbing point here that I think is less than stellar. Clearly it's not working super well. So having a discussion to set some expectations would be helpful and healthy. And again, opportunity to shift the way that things look on campus. Growth isn't always easy. Growth doesn't always feel great, but it usually results in better outcomes. So I'm all for transparency and big conversations.
So I see Ruth's hand and Ellen's. I just want to say that what I'm getting from this discussion is the following. Tara, as our liaison for CPC, will request this item to be agendized at CPC, specifically a broad, like clear and explicit communications between administration and faculty, something like that. And then also we can follow up later when we talk about the Senate, you know, discussion around manager evals and if clear and consistent communication is part of that or not, or do we have influence there or not? And then also an opportunity for the CPC Academic Senate faculty to address this with our superintendent president in the faculty meetings. So I just wanted to, that's what I understood that I'm walking away with as action items from this discussion. So Ellen and then Ruth, and then I'd like to move on to the next item because we only have about 20 minutes left in our meeting.
I just wanted to support what Anna said about how this relates to the campus climate issues and to look at that piece of it a little bit more broadly too. I've noticed that in almost all of the meetings, committee meetings and stuff like that I have, administrators are often there, but with their cameras off. And I know that we all have a variety of reasons for sometimes needing to turn our cameras off, whether it's a poor internet connection or child wrangling or pet wrangling or whatever, or just like needing to get up and move around because we're sitting in front of our computers all day. But I do think that is something that maybe could be part of this conversation at CPC, because I do think it really impacts the climate. When our administrators are these just still photos or disembodied voices.
I have heard that a lot, at least socially from faculty, that it's noticed and that it would be nice to see. Yeah, thanks, Ellen. Ruth.
Just to follow up quickly on what you said, especially at meetings where they are part of committees, right? So they're there as on membership on the roster. I want to repeat some of what's already been said, but I'd like to directly address the administrators here because we do have at least, I counted about 5 of them here. This is definitely part of campus climate. And we all know, everyone that I counted here has been here, well, except for one person, has been here since we went through that and since that was revealed explicitly in that survey. So I am going to ask that you hear us and that you actually listen to our concerns here and take these concerns to your meetings. This is a relatively easy, low-cost way to improve morale at the margin. I mean, even if it's just a little bit, it is a very easy way to do it. And yeah, sure, if you're overburdened and you do get 60 emails a day that you can't address, well then, like someone said, let's find a solution to that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to address that directly. So hopefully that you guys take it to heart.
Thanks, Ruth. So I feel like we're in a good place with this. I feel like I have the understanding of the Senate. I feel like CPC faculty reps can bring this message forward if this happens at CPC or at the private meeting. I'll ask, is there anything that has gone unsaid that needs to be said? Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that. I think it was Anna who said, you know, growth is hard and honesty and real conversations is hard. But I think that we did a really good job there, honoring our needs and acknowledging what we need and finding a productive way forward. So I just really appreciate everybody in engaging in that conversation. We have about 15 minutes left, and during that time, I would like to ask the Senate for us to table item 8.4, because that is a conversation that is going to take a lot of careful consideration. If you haven't already done so, start having that conversation with your division and constituencies to see where they're at. Times have changed. So the question is, what do we want to look like in non-COVID times? So we'll come back to that next week. And I would like us to use the last little bit of time, should anybody need to talk about the legal opinions that were supplied or any items around this charge of the Academic Senate or related conversations about the Brown Act. And if not, we can talk about faculty obligations and being on campus or not. So there is no needed discussion around the charges against the Senate for the Brown Act. Questions, comments, concerns, corrections, everything that needs to be said has been said. Robbie.
Well, I guess I think so, except I want to clarify an assumption I have. I assume at the next board meeting, as part of your Senate President's report, you're going to tell them that you got this other legal opinion and what it was and how we're changing our agenda, and that we voted, incidentally, unanimously via the consent agenda to reaffirm our vote from last time.
I don't know that I will. I feel as though that there is criticism. You're really grumpy today. It's probably because I'm stressed. There has been very confusing communication. There has been really confusing communications sent to me. So for instance, during the meeting when I said that Marcia Croninger said that she was all wet on something, and she said that she would never say that, that's not something she said. Turns out it is something she said. And so she sent me an email saying, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I did say that. But then she went on to kind of say that that we need to recognize that we violated the Brown Act and that we can't do that, and so on and so forth. And but that we shouldn't cure the Brown Act allegation and flaw. Also, when I supplied the legal opinion that I obtained that challenged Craig Price's legal opinion, I was told by more than one Board of Trustees member that it's not about the Brown Act and it's not about violating the Brown Act. And yet the majority of their time spent with me at their meeting was complaining that we don't understand the Brown Act, that we probably need training, and that's the problem all along. And that like our vote of no confidence isn't legally standing. So I don't know that I will address it because of I feel as though it's a criticism because I keep being told that we need to move on and we need to build bridges. And so I fear as though even if I have a very reasoned argument of actually you all were wrong and here's the legal opinion and that I will be accused of not building the bridges that we are supposed to be building. So I don't really know what to do with that. So as of today, I'll say that no, I'm not going to put in my Senate President's report that that we actually didn't do it. It's here. This is our Senate time. I think I've made the point that we didn't, and frankly, that's all that I really care about. And I don't think that it's helpful to try and convince people of something who are, at least on this one issue, deeply entrenched on misunderstanding you, most likely on purpose, right? So I think, sorry, go ahead.
So I see your point, and I'm baffled that they would say that it wasn't about whether or not we violated the Brown Act, because that's literally all they said.
Well, wait a minute. It's literally not all they said.
Okay, it's not literally all they said, but it's so much what they emphasize. It's the vast majority of time spent by them discussing it was about that. Nevertheless, I do think that it also doesn't build bridges for us to take action and not notify them of it. So at the very least, it seems like there ought to be an official notification that we recertified that vote or whatever, however the terminology goes.
Yes, I mean, I certainly could do that. I was specifically told not to. I would encourage all of you to, take the time to read the public comments submitted by Trustee Croninger. Yeah, I mean, certainly I can let the board know that we voted. It was a unanimous approval of our consent agenda tonight. I also feel as though this was a political vote, and I don't know what ground we're gaining by me even mentioning it again. I'm at the will of the Senate. If Senate wants me to do it, I will. And I really need to find olive blueberries. So Ellen, go ahead.
Okay. And I hope Ray can hear this. I do think it's important to, I don't think we need to, or Ray, I wouldn't suggest that you dwell on it in your report, but I would encourage you to at least mention it, and not for the sake of the board members who are determined to believe their perspective, even when provided with evidence to the contrary, but for the sake of the public who may tune into Santa Barbara City College board meetings, but not tune into our Senate meetings. That's my greatest concern in this is the board's, feeding that incorrect narrative to the public without the opportunity for the public to learn different, to learn that the Senate did not in fact violate the Brown Act, and that was actually misinformation. So that I think that is a reason to do it. And there's also other ways to share information with the public. I know there's been media coverage of this. Maybe there will be more media coverage, but also if the legal opinion is put out there at the board meeting, then maybe there's more likelihood that there will be media coverage following up on it. So that's my 2 cents.
Yes, I hear all of that. There certainly can be more media coverage, but I think I want us to circle back of like why we did the vote of no confidence. And even though it's a decisive move, I really feel like we did it to officially proclaim quite overtly that faculty have had enough and we would like to engage in, community dialogue, working with our board. And that was my quip towards Robbie, right? Like it wasn't just the board, it wasn't just the Brown Act. They also, speaking of the media, focused a large amount of time about one sentence I said with respect to focusing on our campus community and not the larger community. And what really surprised me during that conversation was not the way I was treated like a hostile witness, but rather that Robert, Trustee Miller, very clearly wanted me to admit that he and the trustees work for the greater community and that they must, and that we are going for a bond measure and that this is disrupting that. And I was really taken aback by that because I would expect a trustee to say, how dare you say I work for the greater community and not the campus community? Of course I work for the campus community. Instead, it was, of course I work for the greater community. So it was almost like he said the quiet part out loud. I also want to share with you all that while I may personally have certain feelings or biases about this situation because I'm in the hot seat, right? Around it. I also want to share, like, globally, I want us to think about this as a faculty body. We had a vote of no confidence, which is truly a groundbreaking nuclear option, as we talked about all summer. We did it, and our board of trustees response was to interrogate the faculty representative in front of them, and also argue about minutia and particulars. So I'm finding it a very hard to, quote, move forward and build bridges with our trustees who feel that are still deeply set in doing exactly that. And maybe I'm guilty of that right now. I'm just saying, like, that's the most disappointing realization through all of this for me. I was really taken aback by their response to this. So that's all I'll say about that. Robin, Ruth, and then Anna.
Yeah, I was gonna say something kind of similar in that I'm taken aback by the ongoing tactic of talking for an hour and a half or sending a 14-page public comment and then saying, but I don't want you guys to respond. There's got to be a name for that type of communication where you say, I'm going to say everything that I need to say and get it off my chest, but I don't want you to have the same opportunity. And at the board meeting, it was really clear, and all of their communication since, it's really clear that they are not accepting of the validity of our thinking in voting no confidence. I mean, I don't know how else to say that they they feel that they know better whether we have confidence or should have confidence than we do. Something along those lines. And I'm struggling with how we don't respond, although I agree that it becomes this exercise in futility when Marsha Croninger sent a 14-page document. And one of the things she stresses over and over is for us to pull back this vote, for us not to re-vote on it, for us to allow it to stand as a supposedly invalid vote. So I do feel like in some way we have to report that, no, we still have voted that way in spite of all of the 14 pages and the arguments and the attorneys and everything else. But then I really am wondering how we start a dialogue with people who want to tell us why we're wrong and then say, but don't respond, because then you will be like staying in the past and not moving forward. And I'm just struggling with how to have an argument or how to have a conversation in this situation.
And that's my struggle as well, Robin. And so that was my intention, bringing it here in hopes that we can recenter ourselves and our work. And I think that that's why I'm so resistant to bringing this up at the next board meeting. I would much rather highlight all of the exceptional work that faculty does at board meetings and stop quibbling with them. But I also recognize that, you know, there's important things that need to go unsaid. And if you don't say them, are you complicit in silencing, right? So I get all that. I just really feel like, what more is there to say? Right? It's like comical. Like, can there be like a satire written about like the last couple of years on our college, please? Like, can somebody do that so that I can like watch it, binge watch it on Netflix? Ruth and then Anna.
So it saddens me that this is even an issue, when instead, obviously, the board could have humbly addressed the items that we listed on our writ of particulars. And I do want to say, if anyone here hasn't watched the board meeting yet, you absolutely should, and just, you know, narrow it down to the time frame when essentially Trustee Miller interrogated or cross-examined Ray during this meeting, which I think was utterly disrespectful. I'm actually very proud of you, Ray. You handled yourself very well. You effectively represented the faculty body in a way that I can say that I was already proud to be your colleague, but even more so now. So I do want to put that out there. And, you know, some members of the board are saying that, you know, we want to build bridges and move forward and the bond, this and that, like, you know, President Hasland. And so I do believe that, as myself as a faculty member here and as a member of Faculty Senate, that I'm absolutely for that, but it's got to be an earnest attempt of theirs, right? So they could lead by actually looking at the things we listed there. And if they don't agree with some of them, again, having this conversation. I know that it's taxing for you to go and make these comments. We've tried over and over and over again. We keep on bringing these things up. But I would like for you to convey to them that if they don't already recognize this, we are at yet again another pivotal point. And if anything, now is the time to engage with us, and we are willing to do it, but I don't think we need to put ourselves or put yourself, Ray, under these conditions anymore, right? So basically say, if you're willing to have this conversation, if you're willing to talk, I and we, the Senate, are here, but otherwise, you know, it's a non-starter.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And I appreciate getting the feedback, because I don't represent myself. I represent the Senate. So I'm getting, no, it's not done yet. Anna has something to say, okay? Tia, Anna has something. You want to go to Robbie. Hi, Robbie. Yeah, I appreciate hearing that that you want me to say something. I will. I mean, I just don't want to be accused of like escalating it or keep going, right? I mean, yeah. Anna?
So I guess I just want to put out there that you make the best argument that you have when you don't have the intention of building bridges. They chose to focus on the Brown Act as their best option because they know that the incidents that were documented and led to this moment are not debatable. It leaves me in a place where I don't know how to move forward, considering the public comment that was shared today, doubling down on the Brown Act piece versus the mending fences, building bridges, whatever it is that you want to call it. I'm sitting here disappointed at the inability of folks in leadership positions to be humble, to acknowledge when mistakes have been made, and to do better next time. The asks here are not ridiculous. It's low-hanging fruit. It's things that we all need to do. When I make a mistake with a student, for example, I own it. I say, yeah, oh, that was a mistake. I missed that. Apologies. Let's fix it. And then I don't make that mistake again in the future because I remember the impact that it had, and I don't want to create that feeling for anyone else in the future. I feel frustrated to be having this conversation, knowing that it's going nowhere based on what we've seen. There's a common saying, when people show you who they are, believe them, and I'm going to choose to do that. I would like us to be clear about what the intent is to send Ray back out into the lion's den to be chewed up as an individual. Whatever it is that you say, I want to make sure that it's clear that it is Senate saying that and not Ray saying that, because I, again, want to know what is our intent with rehashing this. I want to be clear. I want it to be clear that it's the Senate and not Ray. And then I want it to be squashed. The ball is in their court. If they choose to humble themselves and say, okay, let's figure out how we can move forward, then we can have that discussion. If people aren't willing to own the reason that we're in this moment, I don't know how we move forward. Period. I guess I'm done.
Thank you for that, Anna. There's a little fire emoji. And this feels like a really terrible time to break, but it is 5:05. I hope that this doesn't feel like we just heard what Anna said and they're like quickly moving on. I hope this means that like we heard what she said and are adjourning so that we can like sit with it and mull it over and come back to this discussion and a way forward. I definitely feel similarly to Anna, except the idea of me going back to the lion's den, so to speak. It is my job. I mean, this is what I signed up for, right? And it is my job to carry the will of the Senate forward. And Dr. Benjamin shared with me, like in one of her final conversations with me, that if my heart's not in it and I don't believe it, it's not going to happen. So I have to believe that it's going to work. And I'll say that I want to, and I really want to appreciate the advice that Dr. Benjamin was giving me as like dusting it off and giving it to me. But also I also struggle with this. But I don't want my own bias of the board to get in the way of good faculty work. And I don't want there to be retaliation in the form of faculty coming to the board with comments, questions, and concerns and it not being heard or received well. But I also feel like we're already there. So I don't know what to do. We're not going to figure it out today. So I say let's adjourn and let's think on this a little bit more. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. And I assume like everybody's in favor of adjourning the meeting. So thanks so much, everyone, for your time and your energy. Bye.